My dear students, I hope you must have gone through the chapter from the Diary of Anne Frank that is written by Anne Frank. In this audio, I am trying to give you some of the important question and answers that you can listen to it later whenever you are free, and that will broaden your concept about the chapter, that will augment your knowledge about the chapter. So let's start. I will be giving you in Google Meet Classroom extract based questions to practice, but right now I am not giving you that. I will just discuss you some short answer type questions and then some long answer type questions, right? So let's start. First, begin with short answer type questions that 2 marks each. First question: describe Anne's feelings about having a diary. Answer: Anne feels it is silly for a 13-year-old teenager to have a diary, as it would seem she has many friends and other people to talk to. But in reality, she states she feels very lonely in the world. She wishes her diary to become her friend. Question number 2. What does Anne Frank tell about her family in her diary? Answer: Anne Frank tells that she has very lovely and caring family. Her parents and her elder sister love her a lot. There are about 30 people nearby her whom she can call friends. She has loving aunts and a good home, but she wants to have a true friend with whom she can share her feelings and thoughts. Question number 3, that is from NCERT. Why was Mr. Kissing annoyed with Anne? What did he ask her to do? Mr. Kissing was annoyed with Anne because she was very talkative. He punished her by giving her extra homework to write essays to keep her silent, and the topics always related to her nature. Question number 4 is again from NCERT. Do you think Mr. Kissing was a strict teacher? Answer: no. Mr. Kissing was not a bad or a strict teacher because he always did for the welfare of his students. Any teacher would be annoyed if children keep on talking in the class. Secondly, if he had been strict, he would not have laughed at Anne's funny arguments. Question number 5 is from NCERT again. Was Anne right when she said that the world would not be interested in the musings of a 13-year-old girl? Answer: yes. Anne was right when she said so because most of the people don't want to give importance to a child's perspective towards the world because they are too immature for the world. But Anne Frank has become one of the most discussed of all Holocaust victims. Her diary has been translated into many languages. Question number 6. Why does Anne need to give a brief sketch about her family? Does she treat Kitty as an insider or an outsider? Answer: Anne gave an introduction of her family in the diary because it was hard to make others realize that a 13-year-old teenager would write about her loneliness. Kitty was an outsider which was gifted by her parents on her 13th birthday, but she considered it her best friend and treated it as an insider. Question number 7. How does Anne feel about her father, her grandmother, Mrs. Cupreus, and Mr. Kissing? What do these tell you about her? Answer: Anne is fond of memories of her father, grandmother, Mrs. Cupreus, and Mr. Kissing, who have left indelible impressions on her mind and affected her life a lot. The way she represents all of them in her diary reveals that Anne was very good at understanding people and at developing interpersonal relationship. Question number 8. Anne says teachers are most unpredictable. Is Mr. Kissing unpredictable? Answer: Anne took perfect example of Mr. Kissing as an unpredictable teacher because Mr. Kissing seemed to be indifferent towards Anne's behavior. Earlier, he laughed, but later he allowed Anne to talk in the class post reading her essays. Question number 9. What made Mr. Kissing allow Anne to talk in the class? Anne's last essay in the form of a poem showed Mr. Kissing the lighter side of a naughty child. It helped bridge the generation gap between the teacher and the student. Question number 10. What was Mr. Kissing's reaction after reading Anne's poem on the third essay that he had given to her to write? When Mr. Kissing read Anne's poem on the third essay that he had given her to write, he took the joke the right way. He understood the intention of Anne and felt it in good humor. After that, he allowed her to talk and did not punish her by assigning her extra homework. Next question, question number 11. Why was Anne's entire class anxious and nervous? Anne's class was anxious and nervous about the result. It was yet to be decided who would be promoted to the higher class or who would not be, because many deserved it. Question number 12. How did Anne justify her being a chatterbox in her essay? Anne justified her being a chatterbox in her essay by explaining that it is due to her mother, who was also very talkative, and nobody could do anything about the inherited traits. Question number 13. What does Anne write in her first essay? Answer. Mr. Kissing asked her to write an essay on the topic a chatterbox as punishment. In the essay, she accepted the drawbacks of being talkative but argued that it was in her genes, as her mother was also very talkative. It was different to give up the habit, and it was difficult to give up the habit, and it was also a student's trait. Even Mr. Kissing laughed at the argument she had given. Question number 14. There are some examples of diary or journal entries in the before you read section. Compare these with what Anne writes in her diary. What language was the diary originally written in? In what way is Anne's diary different? Anne's diary was entirely different from most of the examples given before the text. It was somewhere closer to the memoir in which the name of Raj Kapoor was mentioned. It was originally written in Dutch. It had informal tone which excluded the careful nature of a teenager. Question number 15 is very, very important because the question is from NCERT, as well as this question was asked by CBSE twice, once in the year 2016 and in the year 17. Describe Anne's love for her grandmother, or what tells you that Anne loved her grandmother? When Anne's grandmother died, she stated that no one could understand her intensity of love for her grandma. She also said that none could imagine how much she thought of her. Her lighting up an extra candle for her during her birthday showed her love for grandmother. Question number 16. Describe about Anne Frank early education. Answer. Anne Frank got her early education at the Montessori Nursery School until she was 6. She started in first form and in the sixth form. She had developed such a good relation with her headmistress, Mrs. Cuprus, that both of them were in tears on the farewell. My dear students, this concludes the short answer type questions. Now I'm going to discuss long answer type questions. 8 marks each. 8 marks each. Question number 1. Why did Anne think that she could confide more in her diary than in the people? Answer. Anne Frank did not have a true friend with whom she could share now. Although she had spent a good time with her friends, yet she was unable to share her views and thoughts with them. When she got her diary, she decided to share everything with it because she believed that nobody would be interested enough in her musings. So, she treated her diary as her best friend. It would keep her life a secret and would not react like people. She confided everything in the diary: her family, her fear, her loneliness, her life, and considered it as her best friend. Question number 2. What do these statements tell you about Anne Frank as a person? First, we don't seem to be able to get any closure, and that's the problem. Maybe it's my fault that we don't confide in each other. Answer. Anne is reserved. Next question. I don't want to jot down the facts in this diary the way most people would, but I want the diary to be my friend. Answer. She is self-confident and inventive. 3. Margot went to Holland in December and I followed in February, when I was planked down on the table as a birthday present for Margot. 3. Answer. She is humorous as well. 4. If you ask me, there are so many dummies that about a quarter of the class should be kept back, but teachers are the most unpredictable creatures on earth. 4. She is intelligent. Anyone could ramble on and leave big spaces between the words, but the trick was to come up with convincing arguments to prove the necessity of talking. She has a sense of propriety and convincing attitude. Question number 3. And call 26th July a tumultuous day. Explain the reasons behind it. And call 26th July a tumultuous day as it was full of tension and fright. The first warning siren was set off in the morning, but nobody paid any attention to it because it only meant that the planes were crossing the coast. The siren alarmed again around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Anne and her sister went upstairs, but after 5 minutes they heard loud gunshots. After half an hour, drone of engines faded and life became normal. The city was enveloped in thick fog. But after dinner time, there was another gunfire around and swarms of planes. The air was buzz with the drone of engines. Nobody was able to sleep that night because it was repeated again at midnight. Question number 4. Paper has more patience than people. Justify. Or, paper has more patience than people. Do you agree with the statement? Answer. Anne believes that people are not interested in others' life as they are stuck with their own problems. So, it is really hard to get someone who can give importance to her diary. People feel bored and become impatient when we talk about our problems. On the other hand, when we write our feelings and thoughts on paper, we can write as long as we want without thinking of anyone's intention, as it doesn't react. We can share our feelings at length, both sad and happy. The diary never gets bored of our writing, nor does it stop us from writing to any length. Rather, it behaves like a true friend who keeps our secrets to itself and listens to us patiently. This is why Anne thinks that paper has more patience than people. Question number 5. From the diary of Anne Frank throws light on teacher-student relationship, class atmosphere, and discipline. Write a paragraph on the values of these aspects of school and how far these values are necessary for learning and life. Very important question. This was asked by CBSE in the year 2016. Answer. The diary of Anne Frank clearly describes the teacher-student relationship, class atmosphere, and discipline. Anne, who talks a lot in the class, gets punished by Mr. Kissing, her math teacher. He asks her to write essays as punishment, which is learning in disguise because he want her to focus on studies. He cannot be blamed for the punishment as he has given it for the development of Anne. The teacher-student relationship is very respectful and sacred. It is about discipline and classroom manners, which are essential for every student as well as teacher. Otherwise, both teaching or learning could hamper. This relationship is clearly shown in Mr. Kissing and Anne Frank actions as the both try to joke on each other, but in a very humorous and healthy manner. So, this healthy relationship is needed everywhere in the class for effective teaching and learning. Again, my dear students, question number 6 is very important, as again this question was asked by CBSE in the year 2019, recent. How did Kitty help Anne overcome her loneliness? Answer. Anne, a 13-year-old girl, feels herself all alone in the world full of multitudes. She has parents, kith and kin, but a true friend was not there, was missing. She has ever felt a dire need of a friend in the conferring and lonely environment as the secret annex. It is but a fact that a person cannot reveal to none of the above what is in the deep of his or her heart. She finds a friend and a confidence. It is in the form of the diary. It was presented to her on her birthday by her father, Mr. Frank. She names it Kitty and fills its pages with her private yearnings and remarks. She creates a persona for this diary. She addresses it and written it in the manner wherein a girl would confide in her a dear friend. She addresses the diary as Kitty. A true friend stands by our side in weal and woe. He listens to our woeful tale. After pouring into him our emotions and sorrows, we feel our heart light and sorrows lessened. It pacifies our sorrow, despair. In the same way, the diary listens to her calmly. The diary provides her with space wherein N is able to reflect upon and makes analysis of the interaction with the occupants of the annex. She makes mention of the setback she got by the pettiness of one Albert Dussel who shares her room. He makes a fun when he happens to see that she, that is Anne, had made her cat sit on his cushion. She makes a mention of her disturbed mental position on the day a meeting is about to take place wherein the teachers would decide who would be promoted to the next class and those who would be kept back. She is petty with all the teachers except the old fogey who teaches maths. She writes how for her talking too much she is awarded punishment. She has to write an essay on chatterbox. She writes 3 pages. Her argument is, I would do my best to keep it under control, but that I would never be able to cure myself of the habit since my mother talked as much as I did, if not more. Mr. Kissing laughed. She is asked to write another essay on an incorrigible chatterbox. She does likewise. Mr. Kissing instructed her to write an essay entitled Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. The whole class roars. She composes the poem and writes, since then I have been allowed to talk and have not been assigned any extra homework. My dear students, that's all in this audio content. I request all my students to listen it carefully whenever you are free. Whenever you want to relax your mind, you can listen to this audio content and you can have a good command over this topic. And I again request all my students to read the text twice, and as I talked about on Wednesday about different types of teaching styles and strategies, and listening as well, how listening and reading will help you to augment your skills in language acquisition. So that's all from today's class. Thank you, my dear students.